Right. Hello. Lovely to have you all here. Uh, Excited to start this new series, aptly named Love.
We all
Uh,
need love.
yes, and it's intentional because there seems to be this attempt to make love this kind of word that only shows up in certain spheres and not other spheres. And actually, if we're all honest, we all can relate to love. It's probably one of the few things that every religion on the planet agrees on.
So
So
true.
there must be something up there. So why not? And anybody who knows me for any length of time knows that it's a framework. And it's a framework that invites us to consider what love is,
Mhm.
why it's important to us. Yeah, where we might run into difficulty when we're looking for it in other people and not ourselves, and all sorts. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes you could go in with this one. It's going to be interesting, I would say. But hey, that's the beauty of these calls, right? So that everybody can bring their perspective to the party, and we can have a full and fun conversation about it. So I'm going to stick the first one in, and then I'm going to read it. This one is called Lovely Call. There always comes a time when the question beckons, why are you here? At first it whispers, then it gets louder and louder. We go looking for an answer, searching in the world of doings for the great and the extraordinary, marauding the edge of glory, missing the rather obvious. The essence of who we are, it will never run out. Seeking expression right now, 'cause we already know how. Our greatest calling in the world of beings, to love and to be loved. Nothing fills up more. For when love in me embraces the love in you, love finds itself at home. I'm going to read that again. Lovely call. There always comes a time when the question beckons, why are you here? At first it whispers, then it gets louder and louder. We go looking for an answer, searching in the world of doings for the great and the extraordinary, marauding the edge of glory, missing the rather obvious. The essence of who we are, it will never run out, seeking expression right now, 'cause we already know how. Our greatest calling in the world of beings, to love and be loved. Nothing fills up more. For when love in me embraces the love in you, love finds itself at home. Hmm. What's coming up on this one?
I'm so happy you put it in that order.
Say more.
Well, we search for love outside of ourselves, don't we?
Mm.
And the way you said to be loved and then be loved is it might experience the right way around. Um, yeah.
No, I hear that. I do hear that. And in fact, the L in the law is really tackling that whole thing of where we go looking for it. It's like,
Hmm.
where are we looking for that love?
Mm.
And you're so right that often the way, and a lot of the romantic kind of representation of love kind of creates that narrative, really, that you're not whole till you find that one person that's for you. And then that's when, and then we get into those places and we start putting pressure on other people to supply stuff that they can't really.
Mm.
Anything else you've seen in this one?
What was that line that you read? Not old when you find love? Is that what you said?
No, I didn't. I didn't say about being old. No ageism here.
Me? Probably I'm thinking of that. Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, Doga, welcome.
Hello,
Um,
good
Hi,
afternoon.
afternoon.
Mm.
Yeah,
the
go on,
line
Muriel.
that the line that stuck out for me is "Why are you here?"
Yeah, I'm
Um,
hearing that.
because I've asked that question a couple of times recently when we've had some groups at the church where I go to.
Mm-hmm.
And I often say, I wonder why the Lord left me here
Mm,
and took Robert when he had such a lot to give.
mm-hmm.
So there is a question there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I really do hear that.
But I do know why I'm here.
Oh yeah. Say more.
The Lord, the Lord has chosen to leave me here until he's ready, until he comes. So I have to occupy till he comes.
And what does Occupy look like for you?
Mm-hmm.
Occupying until he comes is just doing what I feel that he's asking me to do. And if it's loving all the time, that's, well, he's love. So I guess we do love all the time, but it's a different love, isn't it?
Yeah, it is love. It is love. It is love. Um, yeah. No, I hear that. I really do hear that. And there is something to the piece and what it's kind of alluding to in that regard. But before I go into that, Vidoko, what do you have anything on this one? I've reposted it just so you can have a look.
Oh, why am I here? Mm. I just feel I'm here to know me
Okay.
through the eyes of that person that created me
Right. Okay.
and just to enjoy who I am on earth and
Hmm.
share it with others.
I hear that.
Yeah, that's all.
I hear that.
That's all.
Yeah, it's quite interesting piece, isn't it? That
Mhm.
I think what I was trying to point to there is that kind of lowest common denominator of all of us, the capacity to love. And for
Mm.
that love to show up in different ways, in different forms, but still
Mhm,
be love.
mhm.
And that idea that you don't have to be anything more than what you already are
Yeah.
to be that. And not to discount the impact of that.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm.
But we're often told, aren't we, Frank, to be ourselves. So
Yeah, we're often told that, but then the messages we're receiving through different mediums might imply that we need to change something in order for us to be good enough, or we need to do this or that, or you're only kind of significance unless you're doing something extraordinary or something that someone's going, oh, did you see what that person did? Or blah, blah, blah. You know, um, the other day I was actually, I can't remember where we were, but you'd be able to relate to this, Maria, because you know who I'm talking about. The church I currently go to at the moment, IGC, the most significant, impactful thing that has ever happened to me there, period, and I say that again, is the greeting I got from Kate when I got there, where she embraced me as if she'd known me before. She knew me from nowhere. And just the way she acted towards me as if, yeah, like you're welcome. I see you. And
Mm.
so to me, that really marked how important, how impactful, and how deep it is when someone accepts you fully for who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And the power of love creates such an anchor in you that you don't forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that we all have that power, I think is amazing.
I think one of the biggest things, we are living proof of love.
Mm, I like that. Say more.
Well, the people look for it everywhere, don't they? Like, oh, maybe I'll
Mhm.
find it here, and they'll look for evidence here, and they'll look for proof. It's attach it to something, or
Mm,
expect it to arrive once you've proved yourself that you're
mm,
worthy. All those stories and narratives. And it's like just came to me then when you were sharing. We're the proof love
mm.
exists, and that's all that's needed.
I love that. I love that idea that we are the proof that
Yeah.
love
Proof, yeah,
exists. I
yeah,
just think that's beautiful.
yeah.
Heather, my
Beautiful.
eyes are not good, but you've got a lovely picture on the wall. What does it say about love?
Oh, well, there's four. Life is beautiful. She designed a life she loved, and don't be like the rest of them, darling.
I like that.
You couldn't be even if you tried, Heather. You couldn't even if you
Don't be
tried.
like a rice bird. Did it all. Be you. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And I think that also leads us to this idea that love looks like different things in different packages, but it doesn't stop it from being love. I think there's that
Mm,
idea. There's no monolith of love. Love is shown because the whole point, if the essence of who we are is love, and love is showing up in all these different forms, then love has that capacity, has that ability, right? Um, and so
Oh,
again, to go for one definition, say love only looks, and which is the E part of the framework,
mm-hmm,
which is expressing love in ways that connects with different people, because different people are seeing it differently. So that will be something we'll get to much further on in the journey. But yeah, wow. Okay, we're gonna really have fun with this one then.
mm-hmm.
Right. Anything else on this one before I move on? Okay,
I
let's.
just think love doesn't have to be in our terms. It
I'm
comes in
hearing. Say
different
more.
ways. It comes in different, it might be negative, but it's still igniting something in us to find us.
I like
So,
that.
yeah,
I
so,
like that notion. That
yeah,
is,
so
I
love
mean,
doesn't
I mean,
have to be.
I mean, the fact that you've put that controversial point on the table really makes me happy. Like that's proper freedom to say, well,
Yeah,
let's throw that one in there. What if love doesn't even feel nice?
it
What,
doesn't have
what if
to.
it feels like a poke? But that poke is what you need.
Yeah, you need it at that time
Right.
to know you.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, I
And
love
that's a
it.
beautiful one.
I love it.
The
I
best.
love it.
That brings the best out of you, that allows you to
Yeah.
go into the world you were not prepared to go into,
Right.
just to discover that healing you need to
Right.
progress.
I love that. I really love that. Yeah. And again, some again, when people are not really in the space of reflecting on these things, that could come as a shock to them. That how
Yeah,
could you possibly say that? Because I said it before and I say it again. I think our notion of love sometimes can be overtly
yeah,
um,
overrated.
framed by
Hmm.
the kind of romanticized version that
Yeah,
is the Hollywood likes to
yeah.
portray most of the time, which again, chicken and egg, they portray it because they think that's what people want because it
Hmm.
feeds to the fantasy of something. But we owe it to ourselves to live in the reality of what's here and
Hmm.
recognize some of the things you've said there, that what of love looks like this for now,
Hmm.
because the healing you need
Yeah.
in order really to fully discover that you're enough.
Hmm.
Um, okay, let's put this one in and see where we go. This one. Right, this one is called home. A place for me to call home. A place for me to feel at home. A place where I laugh with abandon. A place where I dance with no shame.
Hmm.
A place where I can be. a place where things fit, a place where I am safe, a place where love lives, a place in my very being, a place from which no one else can pluck me. Love is its name. I'm going to read that again. Home. A place for me to call home. A place for me to feel at home. A place where I laugh with abandon. A place where I dance with no shame. A place where I can be. A place where things fit. A place where I am safe. A place where love lives. A place in my very being. A place from which no one else can pluck me. Love is its name.
Sounds like heaven to me.
It is indeed. The question being, heaven where?
Inside you,
Ah,
that silent moment that you are just relaxed and you just want to know you. You just want to know you are enough. You are complete. That your presence means a lot to you. Wow. Wow. Thank you.
hmm.
Thank you.
I concur, Muriel. It is heaven of sorts. That's the description of it. And it's available right now, right here.
It's our birthplace.
I like that. Oh, say that again.
It's our birthplace, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Before all the conditioning,
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
all the stories.
Yeah.
No filters,
Mm.
no shame.
Yeah.
That's what's sung out to me because I've been working really hard on um not clearing out the shame, but seeing beyond like, that shame I've had around not being in creative flow, right?
Mm,
Birth center flow, all of those
mm,
kind of things, yeah. In my sacral or in my solar plexus, like feeling that sort of looping of feeling wrong and then shamed or shamed, and then it's like, and then punishing myself or abandoning myself because whatever hasn't happened in the way I wanted it to.
mm,
And how everything actually, if I looked at it from a place of neutrality, seeing that everything I'd created had been laced in
Yeah.
shame,
Exactly.
and
Thank
how
you.
hard it is for you to really birth something in the world untamed, untainted, unfiltered, unconditioned,
Oh yeah.
unprogrammed, beyond the stories, how that's what I've been working on,
Mm.
like, and that's what the poem means to me. Birthplace, place of all creation.
Yeah.
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 It's like the full circle moment, isn't it? We're
Yeah.
born without those things. And then somehow, just by being in this space, all those things later. And then we're then maturing through on on picking that and then discovering what has always been.
Mm.
I love that. Muriel, anything from you, my dear?
I think that's deep,
It
Yeah.
is.
Thank you.
deep.
Yeah. You don't get any deeper than love, do you?
Yeah.
But it's wonderful too, isn't it?
Yeah.
when we contemplate what it's all about and what life's about as well, we're just grateful people, I guess. That, well, I have to say I'm grateful for reaching 79 years and
Wow.
thank you. So, um, you know, and learning as I go along. Still, I'm still learning every day, and especially from young people, especially from people like you, Heather, and other people. I don't know what your experience of life is, but I tell you, it's a journey, but it's a wonderful journey,
Thank
a
you.
wonderful journey.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's an amazing journey that we get to traverse different paths in this same
Yeah.
journey of life. And then once in a while it comes together like this and those parts intersect and we're learning from each other's experiences. That is the beauty of the divine in creating variety from the one so that it can experience itself in all these different forms. And yeah, it's just amazing. You couldn't make it up. It's just amazing stuff.
Amazing.
Okay, anything else on this before we move on?
Only that it's wise has come to me,
Say
given
that
what
again?
it's wise.
It's wise.
WISE, home is
Yeah, love is
wise.
wise.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
No matter the age, right? After what Muriel shared.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear that now, actually. And yeah, it works both ways, which is interesting because there's normally so well you have to be older to have wisdom to the younger, but actually it just flows. It just
Mm.
flows in both directions because there's different things. I mean, there's even wisdom in the animals. I mean, so hierarchy is not an issue, size is not an issue, age is not an issue. It's just where what you need is. You get it from there. It's the humility to know you can get it from there, right? Okay, how to be successful. Let's set that bar where everyone can reach. Then no one has to wait to do what everyone can, simply by letting go of why not to reveal the love inside. I'm going to read this again. How to be successful. Let's set the bar where everyone can reach. Then no one has to wait to do what everyone can, simply by letting go of why not to reveal the love inside. Are you hearing in this one?
Oh, I hear no boundaries as
Mm,
what's possible or potential for people. But then I feel icky about it.
say that.
Mm.
Say more.
Well, I think it's about power in the 3D realm isn't necessarily good. Um, yes, it's impactful, um, but put into the wrong hands. Yeah, there's definitely a divide in me there. It's interesting.
Mm,
Like it isn't for everyone, and it is for everyone if they connect, when they've connected to their supernatural power slash success.
yeah. I kind of hear what you're saying, and in a way that's why the work of love probably is the foundational one to you to do,
Mm.
because what that does is then when you come in possession of power, then the purpose to which you put power is guided by love.
Yes.
But when you try and reach for power as an aims of affirming yourself as being enough rather than the love that you already are, then it gets used for the opposite, actually. It gets used to use people or to abuse people or things of that nature. So I remember actually kind of in the scriptural context, it says that actually this love thing is the foundation, and that if you don't get this bit, everything else you get doesn't really matter, because this is the one to be at the foundation of it. And I think it's because it makes you safe to hold power. That's my view on it. Anybody else on this one?
It's interesting when you say set the bar, because it reminds me of a high jump. So
Okay.
we all want to be setting it so high we can't get over it. but then it reminds me of a song, the Lord's love so high you can't get over it, and so wide you can't get round it. And we sing that as a child. But
Yeah.
set the bar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one actually. And that song you're sharing there, the whole context of it is that actually it's another way of saying it's everywhere. So actually creating dimensions where you're trying to overcome, it defeats the whole point, because it's everywhere. It permeates everything. It's in everything. Therefore, yeah, and that's just the whole point of the thing, is that the whole setting the bar is to set you up for thinking how we've positioned things. Like, oh, in order for you to prove your significance, this is what you need to aspire to. This is what you need to achieve. And it's kind of like, oh, is that really true? Because then you get into what was in the other piece, this whole bit about the doing.
Yeah.
So it becomes about the doing, whereas the being is what you already are. So there's no bar, actually.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, there is no
That was
bar.
what.
It's just a setup for people to enter
Yes.
into the conversation and go,
What?
Yeah.
Why do people pedestal God then? Or what? Surely God is everyone. Like, but then people go there to worship it, then something. If it's not God, it could be another significant figure. Could even be a superstar, right? Or a singer on stage if we're all the same. Like, why the hierarchical divide? That's what was coming up, but I just didn't have the word. The hierarchical divide of people thinking that they are not the same as everyone else. Granted, may well be operating on different timelines. However, we're all the same.
It's an interesting notion. It's an interesting notion, because within the same context, yeah, it says God is in everyone. It says God who is all in all. That's actually what it says. It says God who is all in all. So it's an interesting conversation to have. Whether we're having it now is a different matter, but it's definitely it's definitely an interesting one to have.
Like, I see you as God, Frank.
Is
I
it?
see Muriel as God.
Of course.
I see, might say your name wrong, Uduka as God. Everyone, I see myself as God.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
So I think what and I'm going to specifically go from the context that I've come from, which is a Christian context. That notion is accepted, but it's also then there is still a divine. Do you see what I'm saying? So the divine is in all, but there's still a divine to which all is part of. So it is an interesting conversation. I agree.
Yes.
And we're all energy. So we're all divine.
Yeah, definitely.
We're all made of divine stuff, that's for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Lord
That we
came
can
as
agree.
the Lord came as an exalted person, but he came as a servant as well. He said he's here to serve. So we all need to be serving each other in love.
Yeah, I think so. I think that works. So I think that there's always going to be an interesting conversation around, yeah, why do you then need that extra, what do you call it? Yeah, the strata of it, basically. But for the purpose of what we're talking about today, I think we're all concurred that we're made of. So the notion is God is love, and then we are made of love. So we are of the same divine stuff.
Yes.
Because he's all in all. Hey, Daya, how are you?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Daya.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good, good.
Right. Okay. So, anybody else on that one before we go to the next one? Why are you laughing, Heather?
I'm just zipping my mouth together.
Don't zip your mouth. I think everything is welcome because
Oh, yeah.
ultimately, yeah. I mean, no.
Please share. Please share. We all want to learn,
Well,
Heather.
Oh, yeah. Please.
it's one of the things that's torn me apart, like to get to this prodigal place of success. There were so many things I had to try and do and be and peel and sort through and wade through, and like there's so many,
Yeah.
this success thing, right?
And that's the point of the piece, right?
Yeah,
How to be
exactly.
successful is actually it's actually saying, yeah, come on, what are we really calling success here?
What? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
are we calling success what we already are, or we think it's
Yes,
something we need to go and reach for in
Mm-mm.
order to be considered successful?
Mm-mm.
Yes.
That is the journey the piece is taking us on. That hey,
Mm.
let's look deeper at this, the notion, because and that's why it says to do what everyone can, simply by letting go of why not.
Mm.
The why not is the stories we have that said, when this happens, then I'll be
Mm.
successful. When I'm able to achieve so, then I'll consider myself successful.
Yes. Which
So
is
those are
why it's
stories
like
we, yeah. Those,
lots of people are like, when I get closer to God, when I speak to God more, or when I
Mm-hmm.
praise God more, or if I worship Him more. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's not just the God thing, it's like other religions as well, or other
Mm-hmm.
no, but actually, what you call out is the
politics,
journey.
politicians, even people
Yeah,
worship them and think they're going to make them successful again. And it's just like,
no, I hear that. And interesting enough, the journey I went to from fundamental Christian to grace-filled Christian is exactly that. It's working through the notion of, is there anything I can do more to be any closer to who I already am and what I'm already filled with? So is there anything? And to me, that was a very freeing and very liberating realization that actually no.
Mm-mm.
And really it's to come from the place of being enough
Mm-hmm.
and recognize what's already there and debunk the stories that says I need to reach for something else for me
Mm-hmm.
to enjoy what's already here. Which I mean, actually, maybe let's just read this next piece because I think it speaks very nicely to that. So this one is called Less is More. More becomes less when what you seek already exists,
Mm-hmm.
eluding your current experience. Less is more when you cease to persist in chasing what's here to experience. Less and more are no longer a thing when you give yourself permission to experience. So I'm going to go through that again. Less is more. More becomes less when what you seek already exists, eluding your current experience. Less is more when you cease to persist in chasing what's here to experience. Less and more are no longer a thing when you give yourself permission to experience.
Mm.
Durka, tell me more about the
I don't know how to put it, but I think that has happened to me in life, and that was the the where really changed me when I
Mm,
thought I needed more,
mm,
and I thought I really needed more,
mm,
and I became less. The more I was searching for more, and I was like lost in everything. Like, who am I? And that more and more got me into this roundabout that was just going round and round, and there was no exit.
mm.
And I needed to pause and said, is that all that life has to offer me?
Mm.
Because I couldn't get the exit.
I love that.
And by saying, is that all, made me to get out of that exit, to discover the exit
Mm-hmm.
and just move, get out of that roundabout
I love
of
that.
wanting more, but being that I'm enough, that I don't need that more, that all I needed was just to know me. Because I never start with me. I was always running away from me.
I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, that's.
I became so less. I was almost like I wanted to leave the earth.
Oh.
Because I started crying. I started crying everywhere. I started
Wow.
crying that please take away everything that would not make me to discover me. And I had to lose all to find me.
I love that. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
So the search for more is a beautiful place to be in.
Yeah, until you realize there is no more.
Exactly. You need to get there. You need to be there. I remember one thing I had my creator once, because I'm a follower of Christ, truth. And I asked him more that what was Satan trying to give to Christ? That he said, if you worship me, I will give you the whole earth. And I was like asking in my spirit, what is it? What is it? Because I wanted to know, what's he giving? That he said, if I'll give you all if you bow down to me. And something inside me just said, dust. And I then look at the whole head. I look at myself in flesh. And I said, that's true. It's not giving me anything.
Yeah.
It's just manipulating my mind to think there's more he had to give, but it's not really giving me anything.
I love
because
that.
all it's giving me is perishable.
I like that.
So that really helped me to discover that. And
Oh boy. Yeah,
thank
what
you
you
for
just
this. I'm
described there
glad
is
I came in this morning. This
yeah, it's
afternoon.
a journey. It's a journey a lot of us have either been on or currently on. I call it the classic case of misdirection. But anyway,
Yes, 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 yes,
we'll,
yes.
we'll have a look. I've got another piece that talks about that, but I'm questioning whether we should bring that in. But anyway, let's stick with this one for now.
Yeah.
Anybody else on this one? Less is more.
Yeah, I think the best way, thanks for that. I think the best way to explain this is more through an experience, and I'll be very brief. I kind of person who see myself just where I am or what I've achieved as great, And interesting in the last couple of maybe year, whatever months this year, I found myself being drawn to something much more higher. And the more I'm being drawn towards it, maybe could my job, and that's okay, there's something higher. But then I found myself, the more I began to consider that what you call higher, the more I began to see myself as less in terms of where I am. So even though I was okay before, now because I'm kind of in my mind, I've set another bar that I haven't achieved. And so I now see where I am as less. And that was a problem. And I went through that period for a while, for that's that kind of situation for a while, until I stepped back and realized that actually, and having a couple of trials that actually where I am, and I began to now look at where I am. And it was kind of experience. I have to look where I am. And I thought, actually, I'm so I'm great where I am. And the more I began to now look where I even I'm now less now, then I began to see myself actually bigger or much more. Or appreciating now, I kind of reverse back and began to appreciate where I am rather than where I want to be. And it not changed my mind that actually I'm actually greater or bigger than even where I thought I was going, you know. So it was kind of an experience. I don't know what I mean. You said something about permission to experience. Well, maybe that
Yeah.
was the permission I allowed myself.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting experience, really. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no, and what you just shared there just really lifts the cover on the mind,
Yeah.
how it operates and how it creates all these stories, how it creates perception, and then we sell a story that says what's happening out there is what's responsible for me feeling how I am or experiencing what I am. But note that your role did not change. but all of a sudden you've experienced your roles in two different ways, depending on whether you're comparing it to something that's yet to happen, may happen, could happen. And if you carry down that road, you could reach a point where it looks like woe is me. So you don't even see what's good about where you are because you're fixated on that. So it's this idea that experience is not necessarily a fair reflection of reality. It's just how we look at it, how the mind has chosen to frame it. So my invitation is for you to step back and evaluate and see, okay, what is it that I'm reaching for, and what's the story behind that reaching? And I love what you're saying. It makes you feel less. It doesn't make you feel more. I mean, so therefore, that's an endless loop that's taking you in the wrong direction, really, in a way. Anybody else on this?
The word contentment comes into my mind.
Okay, go on. Say more.
Because life experiences for all of us is so different, because we all have lived experiences. But I can remember when I was a lot younger, and I used to look at the big houses around where we live and say, oh gosh, I would love one of those, Lord, if that's possible. But now that I'm 79, I can't even clean the one I've got. So I realize that there's seasons of life, and God provides what we need at the time. And if we're just content to know that He knows the future, and He knows that I couldn't have coped with that and all, maintenance and everything else. That's just my experience of contentment, that I know God knows.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I hear that. And there's that notion of, yeah. It's funny, the mind always is so fixated on either what's gone in the past or what potentially could be in the future. But it's kind of that ability to reflect on where we are now and what's good about where we are now and what we can celebrate about where we are now, and what we just be with what is and experience it for what it is rather than our stories about it. Anything from you, Heather, on this one?
The the saying, like, oh, you can never be too much, or oh, that person's just too much. That sort of saying, where they put you in the box. So I've had that projected onto me where someone's wanted me to be less honest about something, right? Whether that's what I'm feeling, thinking, seeing, whatever it is, right? And I joke on my Facebook the other day, I said, I remember once when I was with a boyfriend, he took me around to meet his brother and wife and two children. And at the dinner table, I said, oh my God, your youngest son looks so much like my boyfriend. Right? I mean, that's not the kind of thing you say, is it, at the dinner table, let's say, right?
Well, it clearly is something Heather says.
I know. But I was banned from that house afterwards, right? Because maybe there was some truth in it, maybe she had slept with his brother, right? It caused an argument. It wasn't, why would you say that, and oh God, I made myself wrong and ashamed. And so many times this has happened in my life where I've been made to feel like I should be less honest. Right? And that is my fucking genius, though. Right? That is that's my, let's say, the path, the call.
Yeah.
That I've been avoiding being more of, right? Because of the fear of upsetting people.
Yeah.
So I've made myself less in that journey. I've made myself less honest to
I
please
get you.
people.
I get you. I get you. More or less. Oh, I see what you did there. See what you did there. Yeah, no, and personally, my experience of you is I've benefited from your ability to be completely honest and call it like it is. And I suppose the challenge for the person on the other side of it is to ask themselves the question, what is it about this that is triggering me?
Of course.
And what can I grow from in it? And if we choose not to do that, it's not on you to not be that who you are.
Exactly.
And look, not to be like totally a little bit cocky, right?
Yeah.
But only because we're talking about it.
Yeah.
It's just like if you compare this session today to compare to maybe others and think how much more honest were people on this call than maybe they weren't others. Or let's say Muriel's, genius where she's potentially been told to lessen this skill of hers, right? It could be love. And people love more on this call because Muriel's here. That's her power. That's her more, right? That's the more she brings to the table.
Yeah.
And it's just like the same would have for everyone. And it's like, what can we do to all discover that and follow that?
Yeah. No, I hear that. So it's that notion of what you already are, give yourself permission to be it in that space.
Yes. In the presence of others.
Yeah. No, I hear that because that's what it's there for, right? It's there for a reason, and to try and dim it because of someone else. So that goes again to what we're talking about, love, saying it's a place where you can be without shame. It's a place you can be without. It's a place where you feel safe to be who you are, and
that's it. I had to love the fact that my genius was being honest.
Yeah.
Despite how many people fucking hated me for it, excuse my language.
But actually,
still you.
And here's the point. Here's the point that's interesting actually, and part of the framework, the O bit of it is about not projecting it, owning it and not projecting it. So we'll come when we get to that part of the frame where we talk about that, where it's kind of like a lot of what's going on in our human interaction when we've been triggered by other people and we say a story about how horrible the other person is. Actually, there's so much we as ourselves need to learn, and the gift that is in that for us, it is quite powerful if we learn to use it. So and that's been my experience for definite. Okay.
Yes, and I believe, Frank, everybody needs to know they're very important person. They're VIPs.
I like that.
Because with a V, you've got value.
Yeah.
The I, you know your identity. Heather's just explained hers very well. And we all have a purpose. And the purpose today was to come on and hear your wonderful poetry and to experience a new thing in life. So.
Oh, I love that. I've written that down. Value, identity, purpose. I like that.
VIP.
It doesn't mean visually. It doesn't mean visually impaired, like I am a little bit.
And that is Muriel's genius. She's funny.
I have glaucoma. That's why I couldn't see the pictures clearly on the back of Heather's wall.
I love that. Yeah. Right. Okay. Anything else on this less is more before I go to the next one? Okay. Let me see. Actually, I'm going to change tack slightly. I'm going to go for happiness. And if we have chance, we'll do fairy tale, because I think I've alluded to the fairy tale piece anyway, but we'll see. So this is called happiness. And you need to see it to really get what the play on words is. Happiness. I would have been happy. How could I be happy? I pinned my hope of happiness on you. I couldn't make you happy. If I could possibly be happy, I pinned my hope of happiness on you. We should have been happy. We could possibly be happy if we unpin and look within. I am going to read that again. Happiness. I would have been happy. How could I be happy? I pinned my hope of happiness on you. I could make you happy. If I could possibly be happy, I pinned my hope of happiness on you. We should have been happy. We could possibly be happy if we unpin and look within. There's a jig there, Doka. Do you want to tell us what that is?
No, I like being myself, so let me say this. I've been with my partner for about, my ex-husband. We were together for about 35 years.
Mm.
And after that, we had to go our own ways. And within that 35 years, I didn't see him for about 12 years. No, then 10 years. And came to last year, I decided to date someone. And that's why I'm so happy that. And I felt like I needed it just to close the error of his side. But what I discovered was like when I left him, when we didn't see for that long, I was trying to help the children to be something that I didn't want to fail. So all my effort was to build the children to be fine. But I didn't really look at myself to change a lot of things in my life, to see where my mistakes are and that. And with this new relationship, I discovered so much that it was like wanting something, but it was like giving me fix yourself, fix yourself, fix yourself. And it was the most interesting relationship I've had in my lifetime, even though I've gone through a lot in my life. And I was so happy, even though it was not a happy moment, but I just felt like I had everything I needed.
Mm.
And I didn't have to put that burden on him to make me happy. I have it. It's just I don't need to be done in some aspect of my life for me to really enjoy that joy in me. Because happiness is temporary. Joy is like celebrating you. Because by that, you are not searching outside anymore. It's already inside you. And I think that was the best gift God gave me last year to this year. That thank you that in my lifetime, I'm able to discover me every day. And I still have many more as long as I live to discover. So that's something that you shouldn't put on anyone.
I love that.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Yeah. But I mean, that's not what we get, and that's what the fairy tale piece is about, which we might come to at some point. Anybody else on this one? From my personal experience, yeah, go on.
Add a little bit to what was said earlier.
Yeah, go on.
Just having to think about it, but even though I know about happiness and joy, it's like, okay, what's going on there? But the interesting thing is that for me is that even though, like you said earlier, we know that happiness more is informed by things happening around us and joy inside, but we are kind of tempted, even though we know that and we know we shouldn't, these things it can go up and down. We tend to, for me personally, is that I like what the poem says, I tend to enjoy when there are events that make me happy and fulfilled. And that could be event by as a result of somebody fulfilling it for me or something. So I find myself now having an expectation that because I'm enjoying that, that's cool. Just maintain it. I need to be okay and happy. So don't change, okay? So and I've gotten so used to enjoying it. So when it now changes, something's gone wrong somewhere, and it's like, what's going on there? You can't do that. You've taken me along this journey. So it's like going to a roller coaster, I don't know, but it's just life, really. So how to manage that, I think, is interesting. And like I said, looking within, and maybe someone need to just train ourselves or train our mind that this thing, even though you're enjoying this, it could change. No, we don't want it to, but anyway, I'll stop there.
No, I love the honesty of that share, right? Because that is the truth, that the mind sees something, likes it, and then it says, this needs to stay the same for me to be okay. This needs to stay the same. And there's nothing wrong in enjoying what's there to be. But the point is, that's the difference between liking something and being attached to it. So the attachment is you're not allowed to change when it has changed. So it's catching yourself that it has changed and becoming aware that it has changed and you're still okay where you are. And something else will come along that you will enjoy, and something else will do something. Saying. So it's recognizing that it's you that is allowing yourself to experience what's good about that, because that same thing that you are enjoying, someone else is looking at it and making up some story about why they can't enjoy it. the very same thing you're enjoying. So it's kind of, is it the thing or is it us and our relations to the thing? So I think self-awareness is a big part of it,
Oh
and
yeah.
not being attached is another great one.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, T, what are you saying?
Yeah, and I was gonna say that there's
Wow.
something in the name there, isn't it? Like happiness, it's dependent on happenings.
Yeah, I like that.
So it shows us the temporary nature
Mm-hmm.
of it. Does that make sense? I think
Yeah.
even in the word
Yeah.
that it's all dependent on what's happening at the, whatever point in time. So hence showing us the actual temporary transient nature of it. And I
like
think
that.
the thing is not to get too, it's the attach, not to get attached to it basically.
Exactly.
And see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Because like tomorrow there will be something else happening that will probably make you feel just as good.
Or not, as the case.
Or not, as the case may be. Exactly, or not. But I think that it takes most of us a lifetime to realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're here. We're trying to shorten that lifetime.
Yeah.
Trying to shorten that gap.
It's but it's but I wonder how many relationships need not have broken down if there was an earlier realization or think of this concept actually of. And when you hear the narrative about the person just did not make me happy or all of that kind of stuff, I think, there's probably would be a lot of relationships saved if there'd been an earlier realization of happening and, and all of that kind of stuff.
I hear you completely, and that's why I had this piece called Fairy Tale. We're not going to get to discuss it, but I think it's just appropriate to end on it because I think the reason why those relationships struggle is because we've been sold this fairy tale by Hollywood. And this fairy tale, when things don't live up to them, because a lot of people don't realize that Siamese twins, expectation and disappointment. If you're disappointed, it's because you had an expectation. Now, if you don't go back and check your expectation, then you kind of don't know why you're disappointed, right? Because you can't be disappointed from what you never expected, right? So it's something.
But we do.
Yeah, but we do. Yeah, absolutely. But that is the point. So we bought into this fairy tale. So listen up. Here it says, fairy tale. Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there lived creatures too fair to behold and too rare to feel. With wings they fly, doing daring deeds, as like in a dream, evading the eyes of those awake, leaving no trace, save in the land where fairies live happily thereafter. I'll read that one more time. Fairy tale. Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there lived creatures too fair to behold and too rare to feel. With wings they fly, doing daring deeds, as like in a dream, evading the eyes of those awake, leaving no trace, save in the land where fairies live happily thereafter. And that's the kind of love that most people are looking for. And hopefully what we're going to discover as we go through this journey is that it ain't quite that way. And the sooner we wake up to that, the better we can build something that is on the right foundation. And as Heather rightfully said when we started, the right foundation is to learn to love yourself first.
Exactly. Thank you.
And can I add over that piece, what came to me is something I said to a lady who felt like she had to put her makeup on before she went online. I said, darling, you are the event, you are the occasion, and you are the invitation.
I like that. I like that. And on
Event.
that, we drop the mic.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to go around the room just quickly. What is the biggest takeaway from today is going to be the ask. Muriel, what is the biggest thing you're taking away from today?
That I'm never too old to learn, and I've learned a lot.
Glad to hear it. Vidoka, what's your biggest takeaway from today?
Just be me always.
I like that. The you that is enough. Dayo,
Yes.
what's your biggest takeaway?
I'm enough.
And yeah, for me, it's more from that looking inward and appreciating what I have, and I have responsibility, or it's my take for leave. I'm happy or I'm content or I feel valued.
I love that. I love that. Heather, what's your takeaway from today?
Love. Always.
I like that. Love always. Beautiful.
I guess, Frank, we're all still a work in progress.
That
Yes.
is definitely the case. That is definitely the case.
Yes.
30, what's your takeaway from today?
Well, obviously I came in so late, so I only caught the last two. I would say just a reminder of, that happiness is but a fairy tale, really. And as fairies do with their wings, they kind of just flies away.
Oh, you're busting bars, T. You're busting bars.
I just remind myself that actually, just like fairies with wings.
Feels like you could write a new verse with the
I
Johnny.
could honestly, it just flies away.
I think you should give it a go.
Yeah.
All right.
I think no. So that's my sorry, guys, but I was
Can I say what is happiness different from joy?
And someone did actually mention that earlier on. The one was more temporary, happiness being the case, and joy was more from the heart, which is celebrating what already is. So that kind of is what's been put on the table. I've really enjoyed this. I didn't realize how much I'll enjoy this particular framework. Maybe I should have done it first, but maybe now is the right time for it. Let's see.
Thank you.
It's going to be great.
Thank you, everyone.
This journey.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of
nice to see you all.
day.
Thank you, everyone.